And there's gonna be another one of me. I hear all you guys talking about kids. Fuck that. But I am known for a fairly comical and colorful nickname in this town. How many of you here know it? That's right, my nickname is Satan. For those of you who wonder why, it was given to me years ago when I first moved to this town about 20 years ago. And if you can imagine Elko 20 years ago, it was a much different place. It was different, fuck off. Now when I first got here, I'd walk through a grocery store and parents would grab their kids, pull them aside, and hold them close as I walked by. To this day, there is still a boycott against this bar who people think is a devil-worshipping cult. I'm kind of proud of that. The only thing in here we sacrifice, people, is brain cells.
Gone.
Maybe a couple children in the basement now and then. Yes, we have an abortion clinic, sorry. I am preaching, shut up. Now a little fucking irony, and this is a little truth to you. The greatest joke that I've ever played on this town is actually the name Satan. Because for those of you who know me, you know I'm not that intimidating of a fella. I'm kind of a teddy bear in life. I'm a pacifist, fairly loving, mellow, tolerant, non-judgmental person. Except to my staff, who I'm a fucking tyrant to, worse than Mo's dad. You only controlled water, I control the booze too. Now, if you understand what I was just saying about love, tolerance, there's a certain other fellow in history that kind of follows that pattern who I've taken lessons from. And while I'm not saying I'm Christ-like, I certainly do know what it's like to be a misunderstood, long-haired Jewish hippie living in the desert. Aww. And now I've been doing this here, bartending for a long goddamn time in this town. I started back in 2003. And any of you old veterans, do you remember the 449er?
Hell yes!
Like two of you fucks, that's how fucking old it is.
I know.
It shut down back in 2003 and I was the last bartender to ever work a shift in that dive. It later became the Cantina and is nowadays the Cabo. It's a lot more poppin' than it used to be. But there's a really kind of cool thing about this because I've kind of raised a generation of drunks in this town. And it's gotten to the point to where there are people coming in around 21, 22, and I'm kind of waiting for one of these days, one of them's just going to mouth off to me, lip off to me, and I can tell him, kid, I fucked your mom. Now, while you're haggling in front of me, in front of that Jameson shot you're arguing about in front of your lady, and they never like that, by the way. I want to remind you about the time that I fucked your mom, and that this pasty, ghastly colored, white fucking belly was slapping up against your mom's ass. I did filthy and terrible things with your mother. At the end of the night, her face resembled something that looked like a Krispy Kreme glazed donut. And I washed all that glaze off with the Spider-Man blanket that you were taking a picture of with the next day that your mom posted on Facebook. Because the night prior, you were over at Nana's. If you recall, you spent a lot of time at Nana's that summer. That was just before the divorce. But don't worry, it wasn't me that she got caught with. There were several other dudes. She called us the Magnificent Seven. Sorry about the house in Spring Creek. I know you really liked it there.
It's average for a black man, Sam.
What?
It's average for a black man, the Magnificent Seven, right?
I'm not even average for a black man, but I'm huge for a Jew. 3 inches on a good day. Self-deprecation always works best. Now, along these lines, I want to ask you guys a question here. Which one do you think cheats better in this town, men or women? The answer is you all fucking suck because I watch you do it. I get you drunk, and I want you there. Maybe some dude talks up, you start talking, and eventually I see what the fuck you did. But the cool thing is I keep more secrets than a priest, and I will not fuck your kids either. And this is why you tip your bartenders. Now there's a story about this that I'm leading into here. And the worst cheating incident I've ever probably seen in this town was the woman who cheated on her wedding night. Oh. No, it wasn't her.
Yes, it happened.
Yes.
Come on by that night if you want to fucking test it out. Now, this woman, she's one of those who is known for like the 2 or 3 drinking day binge. Like there's a seasoned fucking professional. Now she comes in, sits down over at the bar, and she is bitching to me about her old man now. He could not hang. They've been partying for fucking 14 hours. What the fuck's that little bitch doing back and passing out in bed? Another dude comes up and walks up and sits on down next to her. And they start pounding shots together. They start talking, and I'm in with an earshot, so I'm hearing these things. I know it's getting filthy quick. They're talking about what they could do, hanging out, how much she's pissed off at her old man. So they pound another shot. They're still talking. They're showing off their tattoos for the personality challenge. They're doing all that good stuff that the standard little mating ritual happens around this town, and you've all seen it. So I begin hearing them. They start talking about getting a room together. 10 minutes later, of course after they're making out for a while, they do this. And they walk off to Stockman's to go get the room in the same hotel that her husband has passed out in. She was from Carlin. And the funny thing about this, the Spring Creek divorce story, is you probably all know someone who's like this, even if you don't know if they're real or fake. The answer? The second one is true. Now, random question here. Who wants to admit in front of a room full of acquaintances, random strangers, and friends some of their sexual kinks? Go, anybody. How weird are you? Come on, people, out with it. Mo, what you got? Besides AIDS. It's the best African joke I have for the night.
Everybody just found his film.
So I lost my virginity tag teaming a girl with my buddy. We snuck in while our parents were asleep in the other room. The fucked up part though was her little brother was asleep on the top bunk. And he woke up in the middle of it. So now I can't finish unless I hear the sound of the shot.
Awesome. Any of you other sick fucks out there?
I date you, so.
I'm going to tell you about a couple of my kinks. Now, before, if you've ever seen one of my sets, I've told you the story about the crying blowjob. Long story short here, I was moved back down to San Diego back in '09, came back about a year later, and I was dating a girl down there who lived in Tijuana, but worked on the American side as a web developer. And so I'm breaking up with her to come back to Elko. You're stuck with me, folks. And we're having the classic breakup conversation. No, you're not coming with me. And as she's crying, she begins rubbing my leg a little bit. Well, it starts setting me off, and she gives me that little swipe. And after asking me, what the fuck is wrong with you? She begins digging, gives me a blowjob while she was still in tears. Now the fucked up part about this is the only time I came from one of her blowjobs. True fucking story, and I came twice that night. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how I learned something. Sadness is my kink. There's other ones I've had. For instance,
No, wait, actually,
I have always wanted to have sex with a woman named Samantha. Why?
So you can call
So I
her-
can narcissistically moan my own name during sex and it won't be any more awkward than usual. I've bloated a few times with that. But you get what you pay for. Always wanted to have sex with a deaf girl. You all thought I'd do a Helen Keller style joke there, didn't you? No, I'm sensitive and that's actually a lie. I don't want to have sex with a deaf girl, but it does lead into this next story about one of the best bar fights I've ever broken up. Two deaf guys slugging it out over a deaf girl that they were in a love triangle over. This happened in town here. They're playing pool together, and I don't know what shit they were talking because it was fucking all over the place. But all of a sudden, just over the pool table, they just began slugging it out. And you're just, and we're pulling them apart, and it's the most violent sounding thing I've ever fucking heard in my life because I don't know what the fuck they're saying. It's not like we're in some other language and they're just like, no, 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 no. This is like primal howling shit. So while we're laughing and trying to pull them apart, we send them on their way, and we figured, we know what the love is about. Those guys must have a lot they communicate about in their relationship.
Damn. Jesus Christ.
One of these guys, a couple of you old timers might know who he is, also sang karaoke. Now, if you've ever heard a deaf guy singing karaoke, it is one of the most magical things you can ever listen to. He used to sing Motley Crue, AC/DC, things like that. And so when you hear a guy going, go, 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 it just makes you smile inside. He also used to sing, I'm on your high, we know how. And I loved it. To me, it was one of the most socially redeeming things I've ever seen in my fucking life. Because we were inclusive as fuck. And the best part about this is there was one night where his mother was there. And she says to a friend of mine, I wish I had this joke. I've never heard him sing before so well. His reply, neither is he.
God damn it.
And that's about all the shit I'm going to talk tonight. I'm running short tonight, guys. Thank you.